What's up guys, welcome to Munchkins Gaming, where we take your gaming to the next level. This is Munchkins logging in to bring you another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video, and welcome back to my Should You Pull videos, where I give you my opinions for upcoming banners coming to Dissidia Opera Omnia. In this video, we're going to take a look at the Lost Chapter banner for Lann Reynn, which you can get their EX weapon alongside with Edgar's EX weapon as well, and of course they will feature both their 15 and 35 CP weapon in this banner, and the third wheel for this one is going to be Faris. Before we start, make sure to like, subscribe if you haven't already, and without further ado, let's start this video. And we'll start this video off with a returning EX called Trident for Edgar. This will give him the EX ability called Chainsaw, which is a 5-hit melee brave plus HP attack. This will have a 120% max brave overflow and will do greater damage to machine type enemies. This will also grant him the machinery buff for 6 turns, which raises his brave damage dealt based on the number of debuffs on the target. This will have a slightly slow recast speed, and at 1 out of 3, this will increase the brave damage dealt by Chainsaw. At 2 out of 3, this will slightly increase the max brave overflow limit, and at 3 out of 3 will increase its recast speed. And once you have realized this weapon, at 0 out of 3, this will increase the total brave potency and will inflict the royal pressure debuff on the enemy for 6 turns. Additionally, when you are attacking an enemy with the Royal Pressure debuff, this will turn Chainsaw into the plus variant, which will ignore the enemy's defense. At 1 out of 3, this will moderately increase his max brave and his attack. And while Machinery buff is active, this will turn his HP attack to its plus variant, dealing a melee brave attack plus a HP attack, and again will deal more damage against machine types. This will have a 120% max brave overflow as well. Now at 2 out of 3, when the quest starts, he will have the machinery buff up for 6 turns and will also inflict the royal pressure buff on all enemies for 6 turns. This adds a small attack up and a small max brave up to the effect of machinery as well. And finally, at 3 out of 3, this will again increase the recast speed for Chainsaw, and when using Chainsaw or the plus variant, this will now do a 4-hit melee brave plus HP attack that is triggered 3 times. This will also increase its brave potency, and when you have the machinery buff, you will have access to the plus variant of Edgar's brave attack and HP attack. Now the brave attack plus will increase its number of brave hits to 2, and increasing its brave potency, and will deal greater damage on machine types and will have a reduced action delay. The HP will increase the number of brave hits to 2 as well, and again increasing the total brave potency. The bonus sphere that you are going to be getting with this one is called Debuff Power. When an enemy is debuffed, this will raise your brave damage dealt by 10%. Okay, now let's move on to Edgar's rework, which he will be getting when this event does come around. Let's talk about his auto crossbow extend. This will now increase the number of brave hits to 4 in increasing its total brave potency, and will also have a max brave overflow limit of 150%. Again, this will increase the brave damage against machine types. This will now inflict the royal pressure debuff for 6 turns and slightly improve its max brave up and extends the duration by 2 turns. This will have a lower action delay and will trigger an AoE HP attack after use, and the HP damage is going to be split equally. Now when attacking an enemy afflicted with the royal pressure debuff, this will turn into the plus variant, increasing its brave potency and increasing its max brave overflow limit to 180%. Now the royal pressure debuff has the following effects. It will deal a brave damage every turn just like poison, and will raise the brave damage taken pretty much just like a defense down. Now let's move on to the next rework, which is his second ability, Drill Extend. Now Drill will have 2 extra uses just like it used to. This will now increase the number of brave hits to 4, increasing its total brave potency as well, again slightly raising the brave damage dealt against machine types. This will now have a 120% max brave overflow limit and will deal a 50% splash damage to other targets. Defense down debuff becomes AoE as well and slightly improves the effects of the defense down. When inflicting a defense down, this will now also inflict royal pressure and the small max brave down debuff on all the enemies. This will extend the duration of all the debuffs by 2 and slightly improves the effects of attack up and extends the duration by 2 turns as well. This will have a lower action delay, and when you have the royal pressure debuff on the enemies, this will turn into the plus variant, increasing its brave potency and increasing the max brave overflow limit. Okay guys, so after hearing about Edgar's rework and of course his EX Plus, how much should you be investing on Edgar? Now, I am of the opinion that you should actually start him off at 2 out of 3. This is where he gets his machinery buff, and of course he will inflict the royal pressure debuff on all the enemies as well at the start of the battle. This works just like Noctis's debuffs, so instead of point blank range, you have the royal pressure. This means you will have access to all the plus variants of his abilities. And as you guys know, I am of the opinion if you start off at 2 out of 3, you should definitely go 3 out of 3 for your max. And this is one of those times where I will stick with what I say, because there's a lot of things that you can get with the 3 out of 3 limit break for Edgar. First off, he will now have the 4-hit melee brave plus HP attack triggered 3 times instead of just the 1 5-hit plus HP attack, which is really nice for someone like Edgar who doesn't really do well. He never did a lot of damage previously, but now with his rework he will be able to hold his own. The other reason why the 3 out of 3 is such an incentive is because you will have access to the plus variant for both his brave attack and HP attack. And not only that, you will also gain access to the increased recast speed of his EX ability, which is slightly slow initially. So this will increase that speed, and therefore you can not really spam it altogether, but definitely will be well worth it. Now of course, this is only if you are planning to use Edgar moving forward. If Edgar is not your favorite character, or you don't really like the character as much, but you want to invest a little bit on him, I say you can, go start at 1 out of 3 and maybe end it at 2 out of 3. But honestly, that 3 out of 3 is really good, and I would highly suggest if you are going to invest on him, you should really try and get 3 out of 3, because that 3 times trigger with the melee brave plus HP attack is going to be insane damage. Okay guys, before we move on to the next character, let's talk about the closest comparison for Edgar. To me personally, I would put Sarah here. He's basically a Sarah without the brave battery. So to me, he's a lesser version of Sarah in a way when it comes to that, but he is kind of like Sarah in a way that he's a debuffer, and the way their debuffs actually work are kind of the same as well. I didn't mention it earlier, but Goddess of Light is basically just like Royal Pressure, and that's where I got the comparison from. I wanted to add a few more characters, like maybe Squall because of splash damage and such like that. Both his abilities now have either an HP damage split equally, or will have a 50% splash damage as well. So I guess you can add a few more characters here, like for the EX ability. Now that it's triggered 3 times, it's kind of like Golbez. However, it is only a single target attack, so I wanted to add Squall as well, so you can add those couple of characters here as well. But to me, because of the similarities of those debuffs and how they work, and obviously in a certain way, Edgar is also a debuffer. Mind you, he's not a attack down debuffer, more of a defense down debuffer. Is a little bit different to Sarah, but to me, there's really not much to compare Edgar to, because he is unique in a way, because he is one of the only characters that will deal more damage to machine types enemies. Okay guys, now let's talk about Lann Reynn's EX weapon, I should say, Alpha Arm and Gadget Knife. This will give them the EX ability called Sonic Fangs. This will break all enemies and will do a 6-hit AoE melee brave plus HP attack and will deal 100% HP damage to all targets. This will grant them the stack enchant for 6 turns. This will also extend the duration of the existing Mirage S and Mirage L by 1 turn. The stack enchant has the following effects. Basically, it will grant them a Fire, Ice, Thunder, Water, and Earth enchant to their kit. This has a slightly slow recast speed, and at 1 out of 3 this will deal more brave damage, 2 out of 3 this will increase recast speed, and 3 out of 3 will moderately raise their max brave. Once you realize this weapon at 0 out of 3, this will moderately increase the brave damage dealt to a single target and will inflict the stack resist down for 4 turns. Stack resist down will lower the enemy's Fire, Ice, Thunder, Water, Earth resistance. At 1 out of 3, this will slightly increase their max brave and attack and will have access to their HP attack plus variant. This is a 2-hit melee brave plus HP attack, and the stolen brave can overflow up to 120% of their max brave and will deal a 50% splash damage to non-targets. This will also extend the duration of Mirage S and Mirage L by 1 turn. At 2 out of 3, when the quest starts, they will have the stack enchant buff for 6 turns, and the stolen brave can overflow to 120% of their max brave when they're using Sonic Fang. At 3 out of 3, this will increase the number of brave hits to 8, and will greatly raise their total brave potency and slightly increasing the max brave overflow limit. The bonus sphere that you're going to be getting for this one is all range critical boost long. When dealing a critical hit with an AoE brave attack, this will raise your max brave by 10% for 6 turns. Okay, now moving on, shall talk about Lann Reinn's rework. Let's talk about their skill 1 extension, Thunder and Geo Crush Extend. This will increase the number of use by 1, and when the quest starts, this will now grant Mirage S for 4 turns. When using Thunder and Geo Crush, this will increase the number of brave hits now to 4 instead of 2, I believe, before, and increasing its total brave potency and extend the duration of Mirage S by 1 turn. And when you're using the plus variant, this will increase the number of brave hits to 6, increasing its brave potency and increasing its brave damage dealt to a single target. Moving on and talking about their skill 2 extension, Blizzard and Water Extend. This will give it 1 extra use and will grant Mirage L for 4 turns when the quest starts. When using the Blizzard and Water or the plus variant, this will slightly improve the speed down debuff effect as well. When you're using the Blizzard and Water, this will now increase the number of brave hits to 4 and increasing its brave potency and extending the duration of Mirage L by 1 turn. When you're using the plus variant, this will increase the number of brave hits to 6, increasing the total brave potency and again increasing the brave damage dealt to a single target. And while you have Mirage S and Mirage L buffs active, you will have access to the plus variant of their brave attack, which is a 2-hit brave attack, and will increase its total brave potency and extend the duration of Mirage S and Mirage L by 1 turn. Okay guys, after hearing about their rework and of course their EX Plus, how much should you be investing on Lann Reynn? Now I am of the opinion you should start this off at 1 out of 3. This is where you actually get the increase in max brave and their attack as well, which is, even though it's slightly increasing, it is very important. And you do get the plus variant for their HP attack, which will give extension to your duration of their Mirage S and Mirage L. This is very important for Lann Reinn's kit because, to be quite honest, they really didn't fix the problem with Lann Reynn, even though they had their rework. The main problem with them is chances are that those buffs, the important buffs, the Mirage S and Mirage L, will actually run out before, sometimes even before their EX actually goes back up. So depending on your situation, the HP attack plus now is going to be key in order to maintain Mirage S and Mirage L. Whereas before you have to actually use their Brave Attack Plus in order to keep that buff before their EX actually, refreshes, and basically you can actually use their EX again, which extends it by another just 1 turn, which is again, the biggest problem with Lann Reynn as far as I can see. Thankfully, this is sort of fixed a little bit. I wish they actually made the fix on their EX Plus, but the fix is basically using their C65 ability, which will give them 2 turns of Mirage S and Mirage L. I would just like that the extension was increased so you can maintain the buff, so you would have access to 100% HP damage all throughout the entire fight. But I mean, I guess having the HP attack plus, at least you won't waste too much turns just with a brave attack plus, as like it was before. So yeah, honestly, if you're gonna invest in Lann Reynn, you definitely need to start at 1 out of 3. Now, I put here for the max 2 out of 3 because this is where you get the stack enchant for Lann Reynn at the start of the quest, and you do get a little bit of overflow finally with their EX Plus. So whereas before you're really stuck at whatever their max brave is, at least now it has a little bit of overflow. Now, as for the closest comparison, I put Shantoto and Lulu here because basically Shantoto is the better version when it comes to like resist down debuffs, because she basically has all elements covered, whereas Lann Reynn have 5. So that's where I get the comparison. And I put Lulu here because Lulu does a lot of like AoE damage as well, AoE plus HP damage that is spread out. Unfortunately for Lulu, is spread out. The damage is equally distributed, whereas Lann Reynn are all 100%. But looking at the max brave, it will probably be right about the same because they don't really have much overflow on their abilities, unfortunately. I mean, both their ability 1 and ability 2 don't actually have any max brave overflow. So I guess if you take that into account, where Lulu can overflow, and even though the HP damage is equally distributed, you may be right around the same thing anyway. Okay guys, so we're finally at the end of this video. So should you pull? Now, honestly, I'm one of those people that are probably not going to be pulling for this banner. And I have to say, if you already have like Shantoto or any other great DPS in your arsenal, for example, if you already have Aranea, there's really not much reason for you to actually pull on this banner. Especially if you have Shantoto, because Shantoto, I feel like, is the better version of Lann Reynn. Now, obviously, Lann Reynn have their niche. They are very good at farming stuff because all their attacks are 100% HP damage to all targets. However, there are a lot of other characters now that can fill in that shoes. For example, like Yuna is probably one of the best auto farming characters that we have right now, and there are other characters that have much quicker animation, and even though it's not 100% damage to all targets, because of their overflow, it is quite enough to fill in that role. For example, Yuffie or even Setzer can fill that role. So if you already have some of those characters, I probably say you don't really have to pull for this one. And like I said, if you have a lot of DPS characters already, Edgar is not going to change any of that. He is a quite decent character now with his rework, and you know, it's nice to have that poison debuff as well. Now that it is a frame debuff, it's quite nice. So I suggest maybe spending some tickets on this, and probably stay away using your gems and keep those in for later characters in the future. Anyway guys, those are my opinion for this particular banner. Please remember to click like and subscribe if you haven't already. It does help my channel to grow for those people who haven't hit that subscribe button yet. And of course, leaving a like is going to help with the YouTube algorithm. Make sure to follow me on Twitter and on Facebook at Munchkins Gaming. Those are my social media outlets. I guess, you know, if you have any questions or want to talk about any games in particular, you can leave me a message then. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And leave down in the comments below if you are planning to pull for this particular banner. Let me know down there. This is Munchkins logging off, and I'll see you guys in the next level.